Okay, so yeah, this is the thing I'm gonna work on first. Adding another attribute to the outgoing derive macro. And I'm not sure, like I only have 1.5 hours roughly of time now, but could after a pause resume the stream then. Yeah, so the first one shouldn't take more than an hour, I think, and then I could look into adding some tooling to, yeah, first just check whether there are any mod RS files. That one should be the easiest one, and maybe do some research on one or two of the other checks that I would like to implement for our CI. So yeah, incoming derive attribute. The first thing that has to be done is actually making the proc macro library accept that attribute. It already accepts incoming, no deserialize. And I'm just gonna add incoming derive to that. Then I need to possibly update the parsing of the attributes, although I'm not currently super sure how that works at the moment. Yeah, okay, that just uses standard syn stuff, I guess. No custom parsing. Okay, so this, I wonder whether it makes sense to replace this at the same time as adding the new attribute, or whether it makes more sense to first add the new thing, then switch everything over, and then remove the old style of disabling the deserialize attribute. Let's see, okay. Here's input attributes. This is basically never required. It should be iter filter cloned. No need to clone stuff you don't actually, yeah, that's now a double reference. No need to clone stuff you don't actually store. Sure, I'll keep that name. I think it's gonna auto deref, and this should work. Why do we need that as a as own data though? What I'm doing now is just refactoring a small bit, because I noticed that those attributes are being cloned, and I don't like extra clones around that aren't really necessary at all. Is there no other way to... That seems like an awfully complicated way of turning a syn punctuated instance into a list of its contents, but it's probably, yeah, that's into pairs. It's also an iterator. Oh, I guess this actually stores the punctuation. Yeah, okay, so then there can't be a better way for this thing. Back to the attributes. Where is this being used? Oh, it's just interpolated into the output? Huh. Should work with borrowing, probably. Seems fine, okay. Alright, so these are interpolated directly. Right, because that's only the filtered ones. Oh, yeah, okay, so we only, like, the one attribute on the actual type that the derive macro is being used on that was there before was incoming no deserialized. The other attribute that's also there is only for fields, although that's not actually used anymore. So gonna stash this, wrap incoming can go away. Let's see whether there are any. Yeah, okay, the documentation is also outdated. Comment out all these. Don't want to spend this stream writing documentation. Okay, now add the new attribute again. Incoming derive. This is just is ident 30 or is ident non-exhaustive. So here we can do is ident incoming derive. Does that work? Okay, so that's an attribute, but what does this do? Attribute.path, okay. And I guess the easiest thing, the minimal feature would just copy this over to the struct that's being expanded. Okay, wait a second. I'm back. Just had to look after my cat for a bit. Doing weird stuff in the back. Alright, so let's see. I wonder, I do kind of wonder whether I could have an empty derive, like if the attribute isn't used, the new income and derive attribute, have this expand to derive empty list. Not sure whether that produces an error or not. Probably the simplest implementation, if it works. Seems like it does. Although it seems kind of nice to... to do it as one list. So let's see, let derives equals just debug by default, although this has to be an identifier or a token stream, so quote debug. And then if not no deserialize in attributes, derives dot push this and derives dot extend all of these. And I guess I'm getting an attribute out of there. Yeah, so I need the inner list added. Oh, I think, yeah, I need to call parse. Is it, which one is it? So there's parse args, attribute as a syntax tree. I'm pretty sure there's a, yeah, here's parse meta is the simplest one to just create Syn's own catch-all attribute struct enum, rather than something that you implement the parsing trait of Syn, the parse trait yourself. So parse meta, I'm guessing that returns a result, yeah. Oh, and I can't use question mark here, or can I? I can. And then just, yeah, forward the whole early exit from the whole thing if attribute parsing failed. Oh no, I can't use question mark, I have to use collect into a Syn result, like something like this should work. Yeah, okay. So we need it to be a list. And nested shouldn't exist. The parent token? Oh, that's, yeah. That is this parent probably. Or how does that work? It probably stores both the, yeah, the span of the whole enclosing tokens. Yeah, we're not interested in that. So it's just path nested. I'll have to look after my cat again. Just a sec. And back. Cat is outside now. Okay, so I want to check that there's no nested stuff. That would be syntactically very weird. So Syn error. I forget how to construct this. Right, I think new span is what I use most of the time. Although, I think if I just re-emit that to the derive attribute without checking this, that's probably gonna result in the best error messages, so... Let's go back a step. Wait, is this even correct? Name value list. Oh, okay, so in the list the path is actually the path that is also available here. So it's the incoming derive that I already checked for. And the comma separated nested stuff is what I want to re-emit. So pretty much just quote these and add them to the vector. So yeah, this filter map, no, this shouldn't be filter map, this should be meta list. Don't need the path, we checked that up here. Just output nested. Now, okay, so we need to flatten this actually. So this nested is punctuated. That probably... Wait, it does implement into iterator? Yeah, does it output only the elements? Yeah, not the punctuation. So I can just return this into flat map, but that probably won't work with early returning. Huh. So I basically, if I return result vec or result punctuated, here and use flat map, that it will actually discard the error results instead of letting me short circuit the outer function on error and flattening the inner stuff. That's annoying. I'm pretty sure there's no try flat map, and if at all, then it's gonna be in iter tools. Well, that's unuseful. Let's see. Okay, how do I do this? Kind of want to do this, but later flatten. Anything else should produce sin error. What's the other possible? Here. Meta variance, just the path or name value stuff? Okay. I'll just add an example. It should be pretty clear. So I guess what I have to do, yeah, it doesn't do any more allocation or anything like that to short circuit on this with just map and then call flatten afterwards. And now I don't have punctuated in scope. What else? I need to turn this into an iterator again. Type mismatch resolving. Oh, of course. So flatten map. Does that make sense? Then I need an inner map, so might as well .flatten.map. And turn that into a token stream. There's a method for that too, but yeah. This seems obvious while the method might not be. Okay, so no more derive deserialize. Well, there still is, but it's pointless. It's just derives now. Now I don't need to have the hard-coded debug in multiple places too, so that's nice. What's the issue now? Oh, right, this needs to be expanded. Still not happy. Oh, yeah, that's not how to expand this. There needs to be a comma star here. That is not very important, but might as well also add that to the list of things the tooling could check for, is just so we can make the coding style a bit more, is cohesive the word? Uniform, whatever. Is checking that all the quote invocations use the same style. That's probably one of the hardest things to check for. Well, quote, there's two things actually. Check quote is always used. It's curly braces and check this is the really hard one probably, that repetitions within quote always use the same style. I don't really care whether we do commas as what's it called, delimiters, or commas as terminators. So whether the final field or attribute or whatever, well, not attribute but derive macro or things like that gets a comma after it or not, but would be kind of nice to always do it the same way, and then also with the spacing around the repetitions. Oh, there's a typo in that though. Okay, so let's see. It's looking good. Compiler doesn't complain anymore. So what changed here? Oh yeah. What's the latest commit actually? Fix outdated docs. Let's see. I can make this a work in progress commit stash and apply that to the first commit. So now yeah, I don't have a commit where it says X and then later it's updated to attribute to utter. Back to feature work. This should be ready now, and I'm gonna test it by updating filter. So what's the easiest one to update here? Is Ruma event filter used within other ones? Yes. Is room filter used within other ones? It is. Filter definition is probably the easiest one to update to use the outgoing derive. I probably have this in a stash somewhere, but I'm gonna do it again now and just change this one field for now. Not sure whether outgoing is already in scope. It's not. Oh, I don't have any stashes here. Then it's probably on my other computer anyway. And now there should be a few endpoints to update, and the complicated thing with the room filter, why I didn't convert this one to borrowing yet, is that it's used in some responses too. So I should in just a second get to a point where I can't just add the lifetime generics to make it work and import the new incoming type. Which is getFilter. Let's see. I think there's one other endpoint, but okay, yeah. And what I would want to do here now, and what I wanted to do before, is just use the incoming type. It's not great that it's named incoming, but yeah. I don't think there are many endpoints like this where this has to be done, and really if we had GAT, generalized associated types, then I could just use the lifetime generic filter definition here too, but yeah, can't make the response lifetime generic at the moment due to JT not existing yet in stable. Yeah, and now the issue is that I suddenly want to serialize the incoming filter definition instead of just deserializing it and serializing the lifetime generic one. And so now I can do that. And I guess clone needs to be derived as well. That's a perfect test for the multiple derives in there. And here I guess it's just a missing tick A again. Okay, that seems to be it already. That's pretty good. Okay, so now should I? Yeah, okay, I'll commit this to and now I'll get rid of incoming node deserialize. Well, that was bound to fail. Where's the right one? Here. Now there should be loads of errors, one for each endpoint module. Okay, so I wonder, should I allow not deriving debug too? There would be some consistency to that, but also I don't really care. It only makes sense to have a negative derive for deserialize. So I'll only implement that. Oh, I wonder, what's the nested meta like actually? Can it even parse this? Literal or meta? Yeah, I don't think so. Well, that means a little bit more work, but it still should be relatively easy. So how long is this? A bit over 200 lines. I'll add it here. Most of it is strip lifetimes. Data kind, struct kind. Okay. Let's see. I'll add it up here and take this as an inspiration. I don't think I need docs for this necessarily, so we need a list of derive mac or something like that. Maybe, yeah, that's okay. And there's two possibilities for that. It's either regular with an ident or negative deserialize. Really only need this one negative thing. I'll move it down actually. So we look for a exclamation mark, why are we using passcode? Well, I'll look at that in a second. We don't import ident currently. Interesting. So what does peak return? Bool. Okay. If there's an exclamation mark, parse an ident, and if ident is not deserialize, you return an error. Oh, called Mac. else. Well, okay, negative deserialize. Oh, also before expected token bang found. What? Am I using peak incorrectly? Oh, it's input.peak, so like this? Huh, okay. Interesting. And now I also need to parse the token. And I guess I should do what they did in the examples and use type annotations instead of turbo fishes. Okay, looks good. Now the parse implementation for meta. Which is just gonna be punctuated. Parse. I think I can do this. Parse input. Oh, does it have? Yeah, it doesn't have just parse. It has parse terminated and parse separated. We want to accept trailing commas, so that plus into iter.collect. Wrap that up in a self and add a question mark at some point. I'm guessing here should be good. What's the complaint? Rep return expression in an okay. Sure. This is, oh, this is just at the 100 characters limit. Okay. That part seems to compile, and now we need to switch parse meta to parse args with, no, just parse args. And this is gonna return, oh, I still have that explicit type annotation in there. Yeah, just like this. And I guess I can also put the meta in here and return the, remove that annotation, get rid of all this. Why does it not like the, oh, yeah. Okay, no more need to flatten, I guess. Oh, because meta is not an iterator, I would have to unwrap the pull out the derive macros out of there. but that only makes sense. So it's flat. Either I implement into iterator formatter, but that seems kind of pointless when I can just update flat into flat map meta.derive max. Trade bound derive max to tokens is not satisfied. Yeah, okay, so another flat, well, filter map. And I guess instead of having a separate filter here, I can now just negative deserialize none, and before that I store the fact that I've seen negative deserialize. So don't deserialize, no, deserialize. Oh wait, no, I can avoid the double negative now. Derive deserialize equals false. Have derive deserialize equals true, and if derive deserialize, well, that was pointless, like this. Pretty happy with that. I think it should work. Didn't make the code much longer. One thing though, if I stash all of this, there was one thing that was unrelated that I just changed, I think. Let me quickly go through this. Is there anything interesting down here? Otherwise I can also just look at the stash here. No, not list. Show. Oh, right, the explicit annotation. That shouldn't be in the commit before. Is it this one? No. It's this. I think it should work fine without this. What's the warning about? Unused import punctuated. Oh, that was just introduced, I guess, as I removed the annotation. Okay, that's that. It's not oh, it is complaining. So incoming without no, not without punctuated. We actually need the import now, I'm pretty sure. And incoming should work fine. Well, there's still more to do. There's still other code outputting incoming no deserialize, and that's in API, I think. Okay, it's not. Let's see, outgoing inc no deserialize. Well, I can just search and replace, I guess. It should be pretty straightforward. Okay, so which files did this affect? Request and response in Ruma API, that makes sense. Yeah, this is the changes I just did. Yep, same thing. Ah, okay, yeah, that's the manual send endpoint implementation. That makes sense too. Okay. And 0 errors. Let's just quickly verify all of this. And then I think I might just pause the stream for a bit and then return and work on the other issue. I hope this has been entertaining or informative or something so far. Quite a silent stream again. Maybe I should point these out on Twitter before I start. Just checking again that I didn't drop the debug or something like that. No. Looks fine. Okay. Oh, I wonder. Okay, I'm gonna comment this. I don't want to mess too much with the Git history, but there's one more thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna name this Oh wait, I wanted to name it extra derives and always at debug, and then I thought it wouldn't have to be mutable, but since the deserialized derive is down here, the conditional one, that doesn't actually work. Yeah, I'll leave it like this. And then I'm gonna stop the stream for now, but I think I'll probably be back in like half an hour or so.